Okay, we're live, I think. I don't know. I don't even know how to mute this computer. Hold on. There's probably a button somewhere. We'll use this one after I make sure there's volume. That looks like it's working. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, this isn't starting well, I think. So I don't know. I got a new laptop. Hopefully the connection will be better. It'll be interesting to see whether or not I disconnect. If we do, we know I'm going to make sure there's volume. The internet, not my computer or my Wi-Fi or I don't know, something that's not the computer. Okay. But when the new webcam that I got that should have been like way better. This isn't starting well, for it, and it's just started malfunctioning. And I tested it with my other computer. It's definitely something weird going on or not, because it wouldn't work on that one either. I disconnect. Now I'm not set up nearly as much as I should have been, because while I was setting up is when I saw that something that's not the computer. That one, but the new webcam that I got that should have been like way better. This isn't really interesting. It's just started malfunctioning, and I tested it with my other computer. It's definitely even have like my I don't even know how many brushes out that I want right now on that one either. I disconnect. Now I'm not set up nearly as much as I should have been, because while I was setting up is when I saw that something that's probably getting the new webcam that I got that should have been like way better. This isn't really interesting. It's just started malfunctioning, and I tested it with my other computer. It's definitely even have like my I don't even know how many brushes out that I want right now on that one either. I disconnect. Now I'm not set up nearly as much as I should have been, because while I was setting up is when. Okay, I think. Let's see if this fixed that. Let me put the audio back on. Okay. There we go. Let's see if this fixed. Okay, that was. See, this is what happens. New setup, different things, and I could have like. Yeah, it was picking up something that was muted earlier and decided to unmute. Lovely. I did, believe it or not, I actually tested this already slightly. Everything was good. It's not good anymore. So yeah, these are always fun. Okay. There's still an echo. Hold on, I didn't hear an echo. Well, only an echo when I unmuted to make sure there was sound. Is anyone else still getting an echo? I'm going to hold off and make sure there's no still. Okay, audio's okay now for Bruno. It's all good now. Okay. Yeah, I would have come back for just a second while I unmuted it so I could check if it was okay. Breathe. Okay, this would have been a good night to have wine while painting, I think. Let's see. Everything seems good. Okay. Let me pop this window out. And then refresh the page. Give me 1 second. You know, I knew there would be issues just because that happens whenever you have a new setup. Like, you're always going to miss something. But this is a little worse than usual. Okay. There we go. I don't even know if I should bother recording this stage of this tonight. That's not even on the easel. Oh my gosh. Now I'm going to have to readjust this. Hold on. See, I gave myself time to fix all this, but then when the one thing froze, I had to stop messing with everything else. Okay, we should be good there. Did I mess up this one? Whatever. It can just be whatever it is. Okay. That is really yellow. I should probably change those settings. I don't care right now. It's just going to stay how it is. It is not an off-white canvas. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and start with this. I'm going to paint unbleached titanium white for the entire background. This one is on the Frederick's, what is this? The Belgian Linen Nature Core paint board, which is really, really smooth. Super nice to paint on. I'm sponsored by Fredericks, just for transparency there. But yeah, this one, I've got to get 2 surreal paintings that match 2 different rooms. This is for, if you know Coralfish 12G here on YouTube, he requested 2 different paintings that have very custom things involved with them. Like this one will have a clarinet and some of the Aquashella logo, but overall it's going to be one of my scene inside of scenes where the frame scene is coming out and spilling onto the wood shelf. So tonight my goal is to get the background painted in and then the wood shelf. We'll see if that happens. I don't have high hopes at this point. Let's just use this guy. I don't care if this is super smooth, but there are pencil shavings in it. So I don't really have to mix anything. I can just go ahead and paint that on there. It doesn't even really have to be super smooth. Okay, although that is giving me more brush strokes than I want. So let's switch brushes on that. That brush is a bit too stiff. Looks white on this end, maybe laptop monitor. No, I know it looks white to you, but it's not as white as what it is in person. I know why it is. I changed my white balance on the video. So it's not the right shade of white. Yeah, I'm having an interesting problem. It's funny because it's the same problem. You guys actually were the ones who caught that the first time it happened, and it was this webcam. It froze up on me and just, you could see the last image that it was frozen on, but it just stopped. And so that's what happened with the new webcam, only nothing I did. I restarted the computer about 5 times, following all these instructions online on how to fix it. None of it was working. And finally decided to test it on my other computer, my desktop, and it was the same device not recognized. So I'm going to have to do some troubleshooting and see if it's something I can fix, or I just have to go return it. So this is back to my old Logitech webcam. And see how I'm just being messy with these brush strokes? Doesn't even matter. I'm using the Liquitex Basics here. It doesn't matter if I have brush strokes because when I get that, I'm going for a sort of old wallpaper type look, and it's worked better if some of those brush strokes show. Let's the glass palette, Maya, is right below this one. When I'm painting a large background like this, I typically switch to just a big tray because I can be messier. You can see how, the brushes are bigger. I like when I go into the smaller areas, I'll switch back to the glass palette. It's actually sitting right underneath this. I probably won't use it tonight just because I'm painting bigger areas, but it's out just in case I get to that stage. Yeah, I knew this was going to be a night of tech issues. I should have just gotten the wine to start. I should have just known. Yeah, Jay is correct. Actually, hyper-nested audio seems appropriate for a nested painting in a painting. Good point. So maybe this is starting out right. Now I have to add water to this. The paint, because if you use the paint, even with the Liquitex Basics that are thinner, if you were to apply that paint by itself, just straight out of the tube, it's too thick. I'm not going to get the results that I want there. But thinning it with a bit of water lets it flow nice and smooth. You don't want to put too much water because the more water you add, the more translucent it becomes, which is not what I'm going for. But I do need enough that it flows smoothly. Have I tried Golden's open acrylics? They allow for a longer dry time. I don't want open acrylics. I don't want a longer dry time. If I need it to dry slower, I'm going to use my airbrush in mist water to keep it wet for as long as I need. All of the open acrylics, I do not like the texture. I don't like the consistency. They don't do what I want them to do. And for how I paint, I would rather just use regular acrylics and paint fast, or use my airbrush to keep it wet. So no, I've got some open acrylics here. I'm just not a fan. If I want something to be that slow drying, I'm just going to use my oil paint. Let's see. My font on this is super small, so I apologize. I'm going to be squinting at the computer trying to read these all night. Clarence says, "Hi, Lisa. You won't be painting alone this evening. I'm doing a light oil glazing over a fully rendered graphite drawing." Oh, I'm curious what that's going to look like. You should post in our art group so I can see. We also have a new art group for those of you who were on Google Plus, and that's no longer there. We have one on, is it me? I don't know. There's a link in the description. I just joined tonight. Joseph set it up, so we have that option if you are not a fan of Facebook. I don't think many people are a fan of Facebook these days, but that's going to be an option. And that link is in the video description. So is the one for Facebook if you prefer that group. Okay, so now I just need to dry that, and I can start with the airbrushing. Actually, while that dries, I will be right back. I need to rinse these brushes in the sink because they're too big for my water well. Be right back after I trip over cords. This is where all the acrylic paint I bought went. I can actually use some of this tonight. Get the receipts out of the way. A few weeks ago, I went to Michael's and bought a whole, they had their acrylic paints, buy one, get one half off for the Liquitex Basics. I stocked up on them, and when I left the room, I found the bag that was hanging on the back of the door. I wondered where that had gone. Let's see. Me Wee is what it's called. That is a weird, I'm going to get that backwards forever. Okay. Let's see, 1 second. Oh yeah, the lighting on the palette is not even close. What you're seeing on the easel is closer. Hold on, let me see if I can adjust these really quick. These are over the top, not even close to what either of these are. This should be a quick fix. Should be. It's not going to be. Being that I said that is pretty much a guarantee things are going to go badly. Let's see. And it froze. That was good. That fixed, oh God, I should not have messed with that. Why did that just do that? Is it this one? What is it doing? Oh my gosh. This may just turn into a Q&A session because, oh my God, this is, yeah, well, that's wonderful. That is super amazing, whatever is happening right now. I mean, I guess I could try unplugging that one. I don't even know which one that is. This one? It's not even recognizing that I unplugged a USB-B. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. That was not a problem I expected to have right now. That was a new one. It's not even recognizing that that camera is there right now. It's not even trying to recognize. What in the world? I'm wondering if the cable that I used to connect that webcam is part of the problem, being that that happened with the new webcam and this. I'm trying to think. Yeah, because I used this when I checked over on that one too. I'm wondering if the cable is my problem, which I don't have an alternative for right now. Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Hold on. This live stream may drop. Give me just a second. I think we're back. I don't freaking know right now. Let's see. Okay, I think we're back. Oh, and oddly enough, the color is correct, so it self-corrected that. Let's see if I can... If the palette goes out, we just won't use the palette tonight. That one is not even important. The color is so far off, though. Oh, it didn't freeze. Nice. I bet I'm really leaning towards thinking it's a problem with that cable, being that it's only ever been a problem with this webcam that freezing and what happened tonight. So I am leaning towards I need a new cable for that one. What am I looking for? Brightness, saturation, white balance is my problem. Whoa, that's not it. Come on. Wow, it won't just, there we go, now it's sliding. Getting closer. That's probably not what I should be changing. Same focus, oh, here we go. I think I may have found, oh yeah, that was a problem. Doesn't really give me a nice in-between, but that is far better than what it was. Let's see if I can lower the brightness. And that is probably as close as we're going to get. But it's a heck of a lot closer than it was. And is this still working? Okay, good. That one's still working. Well, yes. At least I warned you guys tonight was probably going to be drama-filled of equipment. Whatever. Just whatever. Okay. Is the Fredericks pre-primed or is it all... Fredericks pre-primed or is it primed already? I think that both those things mean the same thing. But my brain is kind of fried. I am using Fredericks, but yeah, all the Fredericks I use is pre-primed. You can get it unprimed. You can get the big rolls of it and stretch yourself and prime it yourself. I don't. I prefer whatever they're priming their stuff with is what I go with. I'm probably just reading that wrong. Nate said, I was wondering if you had any tips for drawing fur with Prismacolors. I can't get much detail. P.S. I'm saving it for polychromos. Draw larger. If you go bigger, it gives you a lot more space for all the fun stuff that you're trying to make it do. It's easier to get the fine details the larger you go. With Prismacolor, that would definitely be my first thing is like try a bit bigger than what you're currently working on. I mean, not everybody, but most of the people who you see get all this crazy detail with Prismacolor. Again, not all, but a lot of them, look at the actual size they're working on. It's usually a bit larger and it makes it easier to get that fine detail. So that's an easy way to go. One is, going really slow and being over the top careful with stuff. I'm not over the top careful, so that's not a fit for me. I'd rather just work larger so I can fit the detail. Okay. Let's see. I think we're caught up on questions. I apologize if not. Is that a bump in the canvas? Yes, there is a bump on the canvas here. And so this one is, if I were selling this, I would care more, but it's going to a friend and it really doesn't. It's just a flaw, a little bit of a flaw. Like, okay, if I bought this canvas and I got home and saw that it had that bump, I would return it without a doubt. Sometimes you get a flaw in it, like little ridges and stuff. These are things that if I paid for this canvas would be unacceptable. For me, this is going to a friend who asked for something custom. So, and it's not like going to ruin. Once everything's painted, you're never going to notice those things. You only notice now because it's, I have water up there. Hold on. It's only one color. Once I paint the details, you're never, ever going to notice those things. So I wouldn't do this on something that I was going to sell just because I would consider that enough of a flaw. I wouldn't, charge someone for it. But in this case, it's something worth using. The canvas isn't like a waste, but yeah, it's something I'll probably mention to Fredericks. Like, hey, by the way, here's this batch number that had some flaws in it. Or in the case like you guys, if you bought one, I would return this for a different one. This is not one I would accept for the price of these. That shouldn't happen. Every once in a while, no matter, it's going to be the case with anything, but every once in a while you're going to get something, and this one has a couple little dots down here too, that again, once it's painted, you're never going to notice it. So that's why I'll continue using this one. But again, if I were to sell this, that would not even be acceptable to me. Or if I had paid for this myself, would not be something that I would, it would definitely get returned. So I didn't even notice it till I had gotten it unwrapped, and I only have 2 canvases this size I need, and I decided it was fine. Fine enough for this. Nick, first thing, do you smell smoke? No, thank God. Let's see. Whoops. Diane said, bravo, Lisa, you always figure out these issues with everyone watching. Yeah, it's a little bit nerve-wracking when something goes wrong while people are watching. I'd much rather these happen beforehand. Unfortunately, when it happened, initially it was right before the stream was going, so I wasn't completely set up. Let me dry this really quick. Thank you, Carrie. That is so sweet. Nate said, I bought the Inktense pencils and was so happy when I found out you made the art on the tin. That is awesome. Okay, this, I need to let it set a minute. Now, one thing I noticed when I use the Belgian linen on the Nature Core board, Belgian linen normal canvas, I don't notice this on, but the Nature Core on the mixed media boards, it takes a little bit longer for paint to set. Like it'll lift off, which can give me some really cool techniques, especially if I want a rough look where it's like a little bit more aged or worn. I can almost rub some of the previous layer off when it's not quite dry. Close, but not quite. But this, yeah, something about these canvases, this specific one takes a little bit longer for stuff to dry on. So we'll give that a minute. And let's see, did I miss anything? We have art by B said, if the bump is a stretched part, spray water in the back. It's not that kind of a board or a canvas. It's on a board. It's not, there's nothing on the, there's wood on the back, or like the whole back is, yeah, it's not possible on, actually, you guys can see on this one, it's an actual board on the back. It's not a stretched canvas. Like it's stretched over a board. So there's nothing you can do with that. The other thing that you want to watch with this type of canvas, I have run into problems on. Oh, I think I didn't turn autofocus off. Hold on. That's going to be a problem. Don't freeze on me. Don't freeze on me. But it is something I need to fix. Don't freeze. Don't freeze. Oh, it didn't freeze. Okay. Thank goodness. But with these canvas boards, one thing I've had happen a couple of times now, if you drop it or if something falls on it, I've bent corners on 2 paintings now where if I sold them, I would have to let the buyer know, corners bent, you can't fix that, and put it, like sell it with an open frame. But I've had that happen twice now on these. So you want to be careful with these, not to drop them, because it's like a, I don't know what they use on the inside. It feels kind of like a hard plastic or something like that. But once it's dented on the corners are where I've had that happen on. So definitely be aware of that with these canvases. I don't know that I would consider it like a super negative thing or anything like that. But it's real, you know, like it's not something that would keep me from painting on them. But it is something I want to be aware of so I can hopefully not have that happen again. It's kind of like when I worked with the watercolor canvases, I've had problems with those. Not the Fredericks ones, but I've had other brands that type of canvas is just so thin and I put holes through them and it's like, okay, I still like watercolor canvases. I just use the ones by Fredericks now, but I have to be extra careful because that canvas is really thin. That's part of why it's so smooth. So yeah. The green bloop that you got on the screen, hopefully that doesn't keep happening. It should only happen when I'm messing with the cameras. It seems like for some reason, the newest version of OBS, whenever I've edited them, they're cutting while I'm editing. I don't know why it's doing that, but if it keeps happening, I don't even know how to fix it because I've never had it happen before, but it seems like it's only doing it when I edit those. Okay, let me grab my airbrush paint. I'll just grab the whole tray of the goldens and we'll pick what color I want here. This needs to stay with a pretty neutral for the background here. I may have to, oh no, good. Raw umber will work for the pattern. I just want it to be really, really light. So I'm not going to go over it too dark. And I'm using a stencil. Need to give that a couple more minutes to dry. I'm using a stencil that I got at Hobby Lobby. If you go over to their craft section, this is what that looks like. It's just a big, huge wall stencil. But it gives you a really cool wallpaper type effect. Brent said, I've never seen anyone use those boards, I don't think. What mediums are they suitable for? Oils, acrylics. Oils and acrylics would be the only two I would really use this specific one for. The mixed media nature core board, not the Belgian linen, the mixed media one I think would be fine for like even colored pencil, watercolor pencil, Inktense. I think everything would work well with that. But with this one, it's a little bit too slick for some of those. So oils and acrylics are what I would use on these. What polychroma set do you recommend I get? The most you can possibly afford is the one I would get. The 120 is amazing. That's what I've got, but as many as you can get. Okay. I had those dent during shipping in corners. Yeah, so hopefully it wasn't something you'd already painted. That's what happened to me. There were things I'd already painted. If I ordered this, let's say I got it from Dick Blick and it came with a dent during shipping, then they would replace it for me. I'm not even going to tell Mike I said, thanks for sharing this. Thanks for sharing this, Mike. Carrie said thanks. Thank you, Carrie. But yeah, these ones, if it shipped well where you ordered it, then I would, without a doubt, contact the sender. Like Dick Blick is where I usually order stuff from. And when I've had paper come indented, they replace it, no problem. If I were to ship this to somebody else, like when I do ship this to somebody else, I'm going to be making sure there's a decent amount of bubble wrap or foam or something around the corners. Cavium said, I've been wanting to do more sketches. I always tell myself I will, but I never commit to it. It's like me and practicing violin. Clarence said, it seems like the canvas is mounted on gator board, which has a tendency to break at the corners when dropped. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look into what they're actually using. I read about it at one point years ago, but it's been enough time. I don't remember. So do I have tape over here? I think it was back here earlier. Where did it go? There it is. But yeah, it's definitely a bit of a negative because I love the surface, but you do have to be careful with them. And it's only happened to me twice. Once was actually at Aquashella. One of the paintings got knocked off the easel and it dented. Unfortunately, it's one I really like. Or maybe fortunately, because I'll just hang it on my own wall. Or sell it already framed. So, because once it's framed, you won't see the dented corner. But, I mean, I would let the buyer know, of course. And then once was a cheetah painting that was sitting over in the corner of my studio and something fell off the shelf and hit it and dented it. Okay, where's the... I'm ripping this open the wrong way. There's the flap. So this will have to be done in a few stages. And one of the things that I like about this specific stencil, it's got these little corners. I don't know if you can see this little triangle here. It's on all edges. And so when I move the stencil, I just have to match up those little angles. And it makes it really, really easy to keep everything lined up perfectly as you go around. Because it's intended for people who are stenciling their home walls, like to get a pattern like that. So it's made in a way that's very, very easy to line everything up. More so than most stencils I've used, definitely. The pan looks like you're in a hole looking up. Oh, let's see. Nate said, what is your favorite pencil or paper for colored pencil right now? Right now, pastel matte, for sure. Hi, Amanda. Okay, so what I need to do first is tape this, and I'm going to tape it to where it's all the way off the edge so that I don't have to line it. Oh, no, I'll still have to line some. Okay, let's do it this way. I'm going to put the corner in the upper corner of that canvas and line that up with the edge of the canvas here and tape it. You need to make sure that where I've taped it doesn't move, and it might. That looks okay. I think we're okay there. Along the edge. Okay. So I am going, actually I should test the airbrush. I did not clean that the last time I used it. I've gotten really lazy about that. That's not good. Don't do what I do. Clean your airbrush. Make sure this isn't clogged. Nope, we are good. But I do need to, so hopefully this doesn't cut out while I'm working. I need to cover up my laptop with a towel because I don't need to clog this with airbrush stuff first stream. So, you know, I don't know. I'd say someone yell for me if it cuts out, but that won't work. I won't be able to see it. So hopefully that keeps working okay. There we go. You guys are all protected. And now you're looking at a towel instead of me. Nothing I can do about that. Okay, so on to this one. I'm going to put some flow improver into my airbrush first. So I just need a couple of drops of this. Whoops, or 4, whatever. And I'm using the Golden's Raw Umber for my pattern. Now, if my pattern gets out of control and I end up being way darker than I want, which is possible, but if that happens, I'm going to just go on top of it with another color, like the same color I used in the background here, and I can just cover most of that. So I'm just going to go lightly. I just want a hint of that pattern. I don't want it all kinds of crazy. So the house that this is going in has very neutral tone, so I need to make sure that this stays with it. Although once I get into the ocean scene, that's going to be a bit darker, so I'll have to do a daytime ocean scene on this one. So I'm going to lift that and see if that's dark enough. Maybe. Actually, that looks pretty good. Yeah, I think that'll work for what I'm going for. Yeah, maybe a little bit more. And I've got to make sure the stencil is touching the canvas as much as possible. Otherwise, the pattern comes out fuzzy. Now, if you wanted your stencil completely, like, to look like new wallpaper, I want old, aged, worn wallpaper. If you wanted something that looked more new, you want to make sure that you're going very even back and forth with that airbrush. So I'm going to go ahead and move this over. And I've got to line up those triangles again. This is always the most annoying part about using these. Making sure everything's nice and lined up. Or even. So you're probably looking at my back right now. I apologize. That is coming up too high over here. Here, because there's not a triangle on this side, it's a little bit harder to make sure that I'm even and not coming too high. I mean, it doesn't need to be perfect, but I would like it to be pretty close. This side seems to be a little bit too far in. Now you guys know I don't always include all of the parts in the videos because this part is super boring. Okay, that should be good. And do the same thing. I want to keep it fairly light. Now here, this is kind of pooching out. I want to make sure to hold that down when I airbrush that section. Otherwise, when I airbrush it, it's going to look really fuzzy, like more so than what I want for this. So I'm using really sloppy form because I don't, like I said before, I'm not looking to have this look even and new. Ran out. Let's reload that. I'm going to put a couple more drops of my flow improver, and this is going to help keep my airbrush from clogging as I paint. And I lost the actual airbrush paint. Where did that go? Oh, here it is. Right in front of me. Let me peek in on you guys and see if anyone's yelling that nothing's working. No, I think we're okay. Okay, back to work. Make sure that's going. So again, holding this down. And I am going to come through and do a bit of a vignette look with this same airbrush paint around the edges of the canvas, just to tone them down a bit. And most of this is going to be covered. Very little of this will really show through, but I still want to paint the entire canvas like this so that I don't have to worry about which section, since I don't have drawn out where the frame's going to go, where the wood, nothing's drawn out yet. So it's easier for me, I found. Just paint the whole thing and don't worry about what's going to get covered. This way I don't have to make sure I've got everything I need. Yep, that looks good. Let's go ahead and move this. So what I typically do is flip my stencil upside down, and I'm going to flip my canvas upside down so that I can get the bottom half of this. I find that to be way easier than trying to get the edge off the easel. So now, same thing, I have a triangle here, so that's the one that I'll match. I don't even know which triangle that was though, so that's unfortunate. Let's see. I'll have to mess with that. If you were a triangle here, then the one should be up here, which is too high. This may not work out for me. Let's find out. Yeah, that should be here. It's a little bit harder to line that one up. Let me see if that's going to be okay here. That should be it. I'm going to have to hold the other side, or hold this as I work, because the tape, there's no easel on the top corner where this is lining up now. Okay, that should be good. I will move this over. Yep, that worked. Same thing, I'm going to take that triangle and now I just use it on this edge, if I can find it. I think that's it. And I'll still have to get my edge here because I'm missing a little bit of a pattern on the outside. This is really boring for you guys, more so than usual. I'm sorry. Let's see. That should be about right. Kind of having the same problem with the tape. Luckily, this canvas thing, it always feels a little bit sticky as the paint, like I was saying before, doesn't really set super fast. So the stencil is almost sticking to it on its own, which makes it a lot easier right now. If you don't have an airbrush, you can do something very similar to this by sponging it on. This just gives me a softer look. Oh, I just put way too much of that in there. What am I thinking? And always make sure you shake up your airbrush paint before you load that in there, because that has a tendency to settle, and I've had problems where I wasn't paying attention and the color came out really, really muted. So remember to shake that stuff up. Okay, that looks like it worked pretty good. Darker there. Okay, now I just have to get these edges, which probably will be easier to do this way and that way. Now here, I think what I'll do is just line up the other patterns, because I can't really find the triangles easily. Grammar, not my forte. Okay. That should work. And I am not going to get that tape on there easily, so we're just going to hold it into place. It's at a really weird spot on that easel. And I want to try, as I do this, not to overlap. Even though it's lined up with the previous stencil, it's best if I don't overlap or try to go back down with the airbrush into these ones, because you're really likely to get this kind of echo, like my voice earlier, because it's close, but it's not going to be exact. So I just want to get it on the areas that needed it. And I have one more corner left that is bare. 1 second, let me get this. And then we can move on to the wood bench. Hold on, if I can find where this lines up. What in the world, where does it go? There we are. Okay, and the upper corner. And done. Okay, let me just do a quick vignette around the edges of this, just a little bit. I don't want too much. Sounds like my neighbor is sawing something next door. What was the top of this one? I think that was what I wanted to be the top. I guess it doesn't really matter. Yeah, whatever. And around the edges really quick, I'm just going to darken these a bit. And it's going to be one more thing that helps keep the viewer within. I'm not going super dark, but it does help keep the viewer inside the canvas when you've got these edges a little bit darker. I'm being really messy because I don't want this super even. Again, going with that worn edged or worn wallpaper look. Okay. And go a little bit more, just so I've got some more paint in there still. Okay. Now I can clean the airbrush and then I can uncover you guys. Well, or uncover my face. I don't know, uncover something. Get the towel off the computer. Let's see, is it still running? Looks like it's still running. Okay. Putting the airbrush away, I'm going to, well, I'm not going to full on clean this out right now. Maybe I'll remember to do it tonight. I do want to clean it enough that it doesn't completely clog. Wow. And Alexa is trying to remind me to remember something, even though I didn't say. And they say she's not listening. Oh, she's listening. I did not say her name. And she's repeating back my reminder to remember to clean my airbrush. That's kind of terrifying. She's still asking me questions, and I don't know why. Alexa, shut up. Almost. All I'm doing is running airbrush paint cleaner through there. Okay, we are done enough. Let's uncover my computer. There we go. Let me scroll up and get caught up on some questions here. Let's see. Oh, did I answer that one? Nate asked what my favorite paper was for colored pencils right now. Right now it is Pastel Matte. I don't remember if I answered that or not. Let's scroll down. Make sure you guys are doing the Lachri Fine Out art with the orange. If you don't, I won't see your question. And then I ignore you, but I don't mean to. It's just that I don't see your question. Eva said, it's nice and calming. Well, that's good. Let's see. Amanda said, it's a small lesson on how to use the airbrush and a way to use a stencil. Yeah, definitely. And this is my favorite way to use the stencils. I just love the look that I end up getting from them. It's such, like, it looks like real wallpaper to me. And I love the worn look. This is a really big deal to me. I want this super, like, where it's like faded. It's been on the wall for a while. I don't know. I love that look. Personal preference for sure. Connie said, whoops, that scrolled too far. Oh, also, you know how I've always been saying it, scroll too far, scroll too far. It still will, but this time I put a mouse. I've got enough USB ports on this laptop. I actually can use a mouse, so it makes it way easier to scroll to where I need it to be. Thank God. Connie said, I love your videos so much. They give me so much inspiration. You're a great artist. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you. What nice words. Okay, let's see. Now I have to paint the wood shelf. That's the word I'm looking for. I actually don't even need these anymore. Let's get these out of the way. I can use my easel as a reference for a wood grain. Maybe some of it. Yeah, some of it I can use as reference. So we'll get that out of the way. Let me put the stencil away before I ruin this. These stencils are really nice too. I use them over and over and over again. And I do have the, the silhouette, the cameo silhouette, so I can make my own stencils now. I need to play with that some more. Then you can have your own unique stencil. But in a case like this, no, I'm throwing crap on the floor. Okay. The Down on the Farm Studio said, looks great. Would you ever paint rooms in your someday house that way, given the opportunity? No, not with this. I do have ideas where I want to paint stuff on the wall, but it's, you guys will see. I'll make videos of it. But I want to have I'm going to get a larger fish tank. Like, I'm thinking around a 65 gallon, right around there somewhere. And depending on if it's a peninsula or against the wall, if it's against the wall, I'm going to do an accent wall with that color, like a teal or, I don't know, dark gray, probably dark gray. And then I want to do a swirl thing, like almost like a wave going through just straight white. So it almost looks like a stencil of a line coming through like a swirl. And then the outline of a sea turtle and a few fish, but just, again, white, not like the full detailed anything. But I want to do that like around the edges of the wall behind the tank. That is my plan. We'll see if it happens. But no, these I wouldn't. This would take freaking forever. I would rather just put wallpaper up if I wanted a wallpaper look, or like they have temporary type wallpapers. But this, you saw how long it took me to do this is a 18 by 24 inch. That takes a while to line stuff up, and I just think I would rather do wallpaper. I think it'd be more practical if I did want that sort of an accent wall. Carlene said, what is the main subject for this piece? So with this one, this is just the background, the wall. And then I'm going to put now a wood shelf. So that's what we're going to be working on tonight. Then I'm going to have a frame sitting on the wood shelf and a clarinet sitting also on the wood shelf, because this is stuff that the person who's getting this, it's stuff that she's going to appreciate. So it's Coralfish 12G. His mom is who this is for. And on the frame that's going to be sitting up here, the ocean is going to be spilling out, like an octopus is going to be reaching through. So it'll be interesting to try to combine colors and make this work with the blues and such of the ocean with these neutral tones so that it still goes with her home but has the fish. So it's definitely going to be interesting. It's going to be we're going with interesting. Okay, where is my tape? I just had that up a little bit ago. No, I didn't put it back. Oh, here it is. So what I'm going to do is measure and give myself an idea of where the shelf needs to go. I don't want the shelf to be a perfectly straight line. It can be along the back line, but when it comes to the front, I want to make it a little bit more, I want it to look like a worn, sticking with the whole worn theme, but I do want to make sure that it's even all the way across, that I'm not drooping one side or the other. So going to use a ruler here, and I'm going to use, whenever you draw on acrylic paints or on top of acrylics, I do not recommend using a graphite pencil because that graphite line will always show. So what I'm going to do is use a white charcoal pencil. This one is by Generals, and this is what I use to draw. Whenever I'm drawing stuff straight onto a canvas, I use this, either that or the Low Cornell transfer paper. Amanda said, what is your canvas? I came in a few minutes late. This one and all the supplies I'm using are linked in the video description, unless I linked the wrong things, which is possible. But this one is the Frederick's Belgian Linen Nature Core paint board. It's an 18 by 24 inch. Sarah said, do you ever feel like you know what is sentient? I don't even know how to take that. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Let's see. The down on the farm studio said, should we take bets on teal or gray? Yeah, you should take bets. Now, I know that my house, it's teal and gray are going to be my main two colors in the house, and white. Like as my trim will be white and all of that. So yeah, I'm not sure. I think I want a gray couch. I know that. So I'm probably going to need at least one, either a teal area rug or a teal accent wall. I don't know which. Okay, I have to figure out how far down I want the shelf to come. I guess I should mark that first. So probably the start of the back of the shelf. Hold on. I need to look really quick at my own paintings and see how far back I typically go on these. Is that a good thing when you're using your own paintings as a reference? So I'm just going to go to my website. Oh, I've got a lot of notifications for the Wemo. I don't know. Wemo's my smart plug. I'm never going to get that wrong. I don't know. That social media one. That was a lot of emails. I'm going to have to turn that off. 1 second. I'm going to my website. There's a specific painting that I want to look at and see how far down I came on my... If I go to Lachri.com gallery, if you guys are following along there, there should be a painting that's kind of a tan or cream with the shelf. I just don't remember how far I came, because that's pretty much what this is based on, but with different elements. Okay, come on. I know it's on here somewhere. Here we go. I don't know if you can see that on my, that's showing on the screen, but this is the one that I'm going for. It is about, I would say, this far down, maybe a little farther. And the back, probably around, I'd say, here. That should work. Okay, that gives me an idea. Cassie said, I drew a picture today, but after a while and lots of layers, my paper is tearing in spots. I color because of the numerous sprays. Or the layers of the paper. It's probably just a combination that happens. It's going to be a combination of the paper that you use, the technique that you use, probably not so much the pencils. If you're using odorless mineral spirits, that can weaken the paper, especially if you go on top of it while it's still wet. So it can be a lot of different things. I like a heavier weight paper whenever possible. Oh, I've got a bunch of questions I missed. Let's scroll up. We've got Art by MB said, what is the spinning behind the canvas to the right? Are there butterflies, and where did you get it? Yes, these are butterflies. They are from, and why can I never remember? It's Jenna. What is her? Oh my gosh. It's Warren Keys Emporium. Warren Keys Emporium. Over on, if you look her up on Instagram or Facebook, but Instagram's where I normally follow her. I buy them from Etsy. She makes them. They're backwards right now. Keep spinning. But they're keys with wings on them. And they're amazing. And her work, I've got lots of them. I love her stuff. Let's see. Elaine said, did you work this design out in Photoshop first? No, because it's so similar to ones that I've already done. I can pretty safely just jump in. Normally I would have, but like I said, I know pretty much where everything is going to go on this one. So like I didn't need to really design this beforehand, which may or may not work out well for me. I guess we'll find out. Sarah said, I'm talking about that talking robot whose name I don't want to give you an. Okay, thank you, Sarah. Yes, the A word. And I don't remember what the first part of your question was. Oh, like she's sentient. Yes. I definitely think they listen in to a lot of, like randomly she'll start talking to me. I'm like, no sound was happening in the room, and she'll just start talking. And it's like, what? That's kind of terrifying. Let's see. The Down on the Farm Studio said, you would love our house siding paint. It's hunter green, which is a dark shade of teal. Looks brighter when freshly painted. How fun. Carlene said, how can you see lines on pencil with those prints? Could you recommend using white or black lead? I use white, and you can't see it where you guys are. I can clearly see it in person, though. So what I'm going to do is measure both sides. So I know that I've got this forward. It's going to keep wanting to slide. Let's see if I can go back a little. Well, I've got to make sure that's even, so I need it on the edge, but it wants to slide back. Hold on. Let me slide this forward so it doesn't keep moving on me. See if I can lock this in place a bit, and hopefully that'll hold it better. I don't normally set the canvas on the edge of the easel like this, but because I need to measure right now, I can't have it back where I normally would. But yeah, I can see this where I normally, like what you guys aren't able to, because this is back to my crappy old webcam. I don't know if the new one you'd be able to see under these lights anyway. So let's go over here. I'm holding my nail. I just want it to be right at the bottom. Come on. There you go. So I am right about here. And 3 inches here. And 2.5 is where I'm going. Okay, so now I'm going to come back over here and make those same marks. Make sure I'm exact to the bottom of that canvas. So a little high there. 3 and... Oh wait, I said 2.5, but I don't know if that's actually 2.5. It looks a little lower. Let me double check if that's where that was supposed to be. And when you do this, check, and then check some more, and then check again. Yeah. Okay, that should be good. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put the tape on now to block out the upper section of this, because that back line I do want straight, or mostly straight. And that is not a long enough piece of tape. Good job, Lisa. Joseph said, has she laughed at you yet? My friend's cackles like a lunatic at weird hours of the night. I've not had that happen yet. I think it's kind of crazy that she randomly, because I said I needed to remember to do something, and she randomly started repeating something about a reminder to remind me to do, and repeating what my thing I was saying was. Like, what? I don't even, that's kind of terrifying. So once I get the tape on, what I'm going to do is double check the edges, because I think I'm a little low here. Again. I'm a little bit on the low side here. Now I'm a little high. And so you notice I didn't rub my hand across the tape yet. I need to make sure everything's even first before I really stick that down. I've made that mistake enough times. That side looks good. And this side is a little high. That looks pretty good. Now I need to check the middle too, because you want to watch with the tape. It's going to have a tendency to make a U shape. So I need to make sure the middle is about right as well before I push that down. And usually with that, I can just kind of pull it into place. It's semi-close. Let's pull that up just a touch. But the edges are pushed down, so those should stay. Now we're good. Now I can push that down. Now, if I wanted a really, really hard edge here, I could take my matte medium or a gloss medium, some kind of medium. Oops, let me pull the tape off. I forgot this one. I don't want the tape sticking on the wood in the back of the canvas. Sometimes the masking tape will rip the, or not the wood, the like paper back there. But I could take a matte medium or a masking, mixing medium and put a line of that. It's clear. Put that down first, and that's going to keep any paint from sliding under the tape. I'm going to be dry brushing this, so I really don't need to. Now for this section, yeah, I'll probably put some tape. I think I will do the tape on the bottom before I start painting this too. Let's just make it easier for me, just for my first layer, and then I'll make it more uneven as I get going. And there went the roller. Let's see. Toronto Zoo Trip said, have you got paint on the new easel yet? Yeah, I've got it on a few places. Luckily, the things that I'm using to keep it off too much really are working well. Cavium said, how did you come to love teal? Is it something you saw when you were younger? It's just a color that I look at and it makes me happy. The first time I realized, like, I am obsessed with this color was actually playing World of Warcraft. There was, in a portal thing, there was that color, and I was like, this is amazing. It's more of a peacock blue is my real favorite one, so it's a deeper teal. But yeah, that was where I first saw it and thought, oh my gosh, I have to use this color on all the things, and I've been doing that ever since. I'm a dork. I don't think I've ever told anyone that that's where that started, or like my first memory of, oh my gosh, teal's the best thing that has ever happened in this world. So yeah, that is how that happened. But yeah, it just makes me happy when I look at it. Come on, you need to go up a bit. Still up more. Ugh. That just did not work at all. You know, I joked that this live stream was going to be a hot mess, but I was hoping that it really wouldn't. Oh my gosh. I set myself up for that one. Gail said, Gail said, just curious, what is that canvas sitting on that's blue? This here is it's the, just the bottom of the, if that's what you mean. It's just the bottom of the easel, but I put shelving paper on it because it used to be white, but it has a lot of paint on it. So that is all that is. And it's the edge right now. I've got it on, so I keep sliding back. It's always a pain to make sure you get everything measured the way you want it. That is pretty close. Let's see if this side is. Nope, that one is more exact, so close enough is not going to be close enough. On this side, that's got to go up just a bit. Let me push this one down so that doesn't come off again. See if that, I probably just overcompensated there. No, that's actually really good. Okay, so this side works. Now, one of the things that you can do when you're trying to get the straight line that will help offset that if you're a little off, because you're never going to be 100% exact, is like when I have the octopus, well, his tentacle, well, one of his arms at least will be hanging down. If you have stuff hanging over the edge of the shelf, that's going to help you to not make it as obvious that things aren't exact. But I mean, I want to get them as close as possible right now, so I'm not spending a lot of time trying to hide those sorts of things. That one's fine. And then double check that again now that I've pushed that down. Yeah, we're good. I think. Yeah, that looks good. I also want to make sure too that things are lining up pretty good with my pattern, because it's possible my pattern was slightly off. And then when I put the shelf, it's going to make it even that much more obvious. And in that case, I'd probably just paint it and do it again. But those are, you want to watch for all of those things. Try to get things really close if you can. Okay, now I'm just going to mix some brown with my unbleached titanium white. And I'm just going to get a base coat here. I'm not going to use, whoa, that has a lot. I must not have used this one for a while. That did not come out. What are you doing? This is apparently a very, very old paint. Yuck. That'll work. It's still usable though. Let's see. Have I got, nope, got that one. I missed a question. There we go. Percy said, do you need a T-square roller or instead of the tape? They're not very pricey. Oh no, I prefer the tape. I definitely like the tape because I want to tape it to the board. I want it to stay there where I can be hands-free. But I probably need more, you know, a bigger variety of rollers, I'm sure. Be careful of what you joke about. Bookshelf gems. Yeah, seriously. Blue Tea Art said, do you have a regimen before you start? And what could that be? Before I start painting, usually it's coffee. That is normally the first thing, like coffee. Make sure my dogs are all settled so I'm not constantly getting up when they're demanding to be let back outside or whatever it is. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Coffee or water. I'll usually have water next to me too. That's get my audiobook ready. I'm usually listening to a book. But yeah, coffee is generally step one for me. Toronto Zoo Trip said, I bought some peacock feathers the other day. Insanely gorgeous colors, peacock blue. They're still sitting in a vase waiting for me to attempt to copy them in acrylic or watercolor. Those will make for such pretty subjects. That's really cool. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit of water, but I don't need a lot. I've got to mix that brown in because, oh, that's a lot of water because of that gel. Okay, remember how I said not a lot of water? Oh, that's too much. I am, seriously, night of, really? That paint is like goo. It's still fine once I mix it. Let go. Like just. Yeah. That's not normal. It's old. Once I get it mixed in, it's fine. Like it's not bad. It's not like if I bought a brand new tube of paint and was doing that, I would return it. Like this is old paint, but it's still usable. Okay. So this doesn't have a lot of water. I am going to dry brush this a little bit for the base here because I don't want wet paint. If I mixed a lot of water, it would be sliding under the tape. My alternative, like I mentioned before, would be to use the a mixing medium or matte medium, any of the mediums, really, one of the clear mediums. And that way, anything that slides under is clear. So when you remove the tape, you won't see it. And I don't want to overwork that back edge, just leaving it kind of light. And what I'll do is come back over it with some of the same color as the wall so it fades out so it's not such a harsh line there. Now, you'll often hear me talk about I don't like dry brushing, and that certainly hasn't changed. But here, it works for this base layer. Plus, this canvas, you can dry brush like crazy and it doesn't look like you have. It's super, super, like almost slippery smooth. So I'm adding the unbleached titanium white so that it's a little bit lighter, and I'll have it come darker as I move my way forward. Now this is the whole shelf, so part of this is going to be that front edge, which I can freehand in. Let's just get some of this filled in now. Cassie said, I have zero experience with paint and painting, but I have no idea how to start. What kind of paint do you buy? Do you mainly just use paint instead of using coloring pencil? Huh? I'm not really sure what you're asking, but if you look up what information you're looking for, if you look at my video on, I think it's called Your First Acrylic Painting, it's of a copper banded butterfly fish. And that one, I really walk you through step by step, everything that I do from layering to the supplies that I use. I think that will be a great first project for you. But I've also got all of the supplies listed on my website. That video though, it breaks it down in a way I think it's more easy to understand than like me explaining. I would definitely start there. If you look up Lachri and I think just Your First Acrylic Painting on YouTube, it should come up. But it's a fish, and there's a lot of blending techniques that I go over in that one. Gail said, can I give a shout out for Kaiser Craft templates. They are huge and really sturdy. Large selection as well. I'll have to look into those. I don't know what this one is. This one is Stencil Ease. I've had that one for years. It does held up really well. Amanda said acrylic paint. Yes, that is what this is. Sarah said, I painted a peacock, but it was sitting. I still want to paint it with its tail spread out. I've done a few sitting and the tail spread out. They're fun. I really like painting peacocks. TK said, I am DRQ. I don't know what that is. Okay, back to painting. Now I can use a little bit more water so that this will flow smoother as I'm working away from that edge. And it's okay if the pattern shows through a little bit. I'm going to be putting so much detail with the wood grain. You're not really going to notice that once it's all done. Kale said, why is it that you don't like dry brushing? Because it makes it like the finished paintings. If you've got a lot of dry brushing, like there are books that teach you how to dry brush clouds and do all the dry brushing. You look like someone who doesn't know how to paint with acrylics. You look, I mean, it's a very beginner. I'm going to get so many nasty comments for saying that, but it looks like you're a beginner. I like the look, and if that's the look you like, go for it. That's fine. But I mean, the dry brush look makes you look like you're a beginner painter. That's one of those techniques that's taught in a lot of these beginner books that drive me crazy because it's one I wouldn't typically use as a beginner technique. I try to keep people away from that when I'm teaching, but it's you know how you hear people talk about acrylic painting and how it looks like an acrylic painting and that, it's not as good as an oil painting. That's kind of the thing with acrylics. You're always competing against oil painters, or not competing against, but people are comparing you to oil painters and oil paintings. Because people too often with acrylics, they use techniques like dry brushing. And there is a time and place for dry brushing, don't get me wrong. But the problem is that too many beginner painters I see use dry brushing for everything. They need shading, dry brush. They need a cloud, dry brush. They need anything, dry brush. You look like a beginner when you do that. See, that's why I'm going to get all the hate comments. Like, no, I don't. Yes, you do. Trust me, you do. You may hate me for it now, but someday you'll realize, oh, she was right. And I see that when I go to art, not art galleries, like art shows where you've got a lot of beginner artists that are displaying their work. And it's not that they're not, good paintings, but you can tell they're kind of new to the medium. They haven't really learned to blend things very well. That comes with definitely time and practice. Again, dry brushing is easier, but it does make you look, or it makes it more obvious that you're new to painting, I think. So it's one of those things I try to avoid. And when people are comparing oils and acrylics, that's usually the difference that people notice is that acrylic artists have a tendency to dry brush stuff because it's hard. It dries so fast. And I get that. It is hard to blend, when you're getting started. It can be very hard to blend acrylics. And so dry brushing is kind of like, here's my easy, how I'm going to not cheat, but take a shortcut, I guess, to make shading and blending, but not have it look like, it doesn't look like the oil painting that so many people are looking for that. And like I said, there's a time for it. Sometimes you do want a dry brush look. It's just that more often than not, you don't. Every time I've talked about that in videos before, I always get nasty comments. And it's like, well, you keep doing that if that makes you happy, but I can tell you're a beginner. Let's see. See, again, so many nasty comments are going to come through. I should probably not say these things, but whatever. Those of you who are wanting to learn and to improve will appreciate that information. Those of you who prefer to just keep being a beginner won't. Okay. Does the finer canvas make the acrylic? I'm not sure what you're asking, Willow. Oh, wait, here we go. Like oil. I went down a few things. Kind of. The smoother the canvas, the easier it is to blend. Absolutely. If you've got a rough canvas, you're going to be more likely to have that dry brush look because the paint catches the tooth of the canvas, like the top bumps. It's going to catch that more. And so that makes it's hard to fight or to get a smooth look on a rough canvas. So yeah, definitely. If you want the smoother look, or that has that oil painting look, go with a smoother canvas whenever you can if you want smooth blending and that sort of thing. Those rough canvases, it's not that they're bad. They're for different techniques. So like if I'm going to paint with a palette knife and I want super thick paint on there, I want a rough canvas, a heavy toothed canvas. I have a few here. So there's a time for them. It's not that all rough canvases are bad, but if you want something smooth, if that's the look that you're going for, then you're going to want a smoother canvas to go with it. It'll make your life a lot easier. Blue Tea Art said, how many brushes would you think is enough? And what types of brushes do you use most of all? Tack blown bristled filberts and synthetic hard liner brushes are probably my two most used types of brushes. And then, of course, my blush brushes for blending. But how many do you need? I think I need all of them ever. But realistically, like if I look at what's around me, I'm using the same 3 brushes over and over again so far tonight. So you don't need as many as I like to own. But I mean, the more the better, because you never know what technique you're going to want to try, and it's going to require a different type of brush. Let's see. I'm going to actually dry this really quick so that we can go on or put another layer on it. Okay, question from TK. I love this question. I'm drawing a galgo at the moment and in graphite. I'm thinking about a white pencil for the whiskers and lights, but I'm not sure if it's smart or allowed. So as far as things being allowed, it's art. It's all allowed. The only thing that I worry about is it archival? Is it going to make the work not last as long, or is, you know, are these two mediums compatible? So like, let's say oil and acrylic. If I put acrylic down, or oil down first, I can't put acrylic on top. It's no longer going to be archival. Those mediums are not compatible in that order. Flip the order, acrylic first and oil on top of that, absolutely. So you need to know which order you can safely get away with things. As far as white charcoal with the acrylic paint, or I'm sorry, with graphite, it's not going to stick really well. You can do it, but the graphite, depending on how slick it is, graphite's a lubricant. It's very, very slick, and especially if you've got a lot of layers, you're going to have a hard time getting the white charcoal to stick to it. If it will stick to it, it's fine, but you're also going to have a hard time when you put a spray seal over everything. The white charcoal kind of disappears, especially if it's on top of graphite, has been my experience. So I would play around with the materials you're going to use, the type of finishing spray, the type of charcoal, the type of graphite, all of that. I would play around with it on another piece of paper and then see how that all reacts. But my experience wasn't super positive. It can be done. You just have to kind of play around with that. So, but as far as is it allowed to mix different mediums, you're allowed to do whatever you want. It's art. You just want to keep in mind whether or not it's going to be archival and if they're going to play nicely together. Orchid Blue 24 said, have you used water-soluble oil paints? I have, and I was not a fan personally. I like normal oil paints better. Where was I? Oh, that scrolled too far. The Down on the Farm Studio said, do you have a favorite kind of penguin? Tomorrow is Penguin Day, so I'm researching to paint another Starlight Safari digital painting. I thought I'd look at others' favorites. I think they're all adorable. I don't think I have a favorite. I've never seen one I didn't like, if that helps. Let's see. I agree. I don't know how to say your first name. Acacia said, I agree. When I teach painting, I encourage students to waste paint to avoid the chronic dry brushing problem. They're afraid to use a lot of paint. Yes, that's probably one of the most common problems that I run into when someone's learning oils and acrylics. They're so afraid to waste paint or to mess something up. They use like this little teeny tiny amount of paint, and it's like, no, load that up. Get paint on that brush. If you are dry brushing, like if you're getting little dots of the previous layer showing through or the white of the canvas showing through, I always tell people that's a sign you need more paint and or more water mixed in with your paint on your brush. Pio said, how do you stay motivated? Help. The electric company and my apartment complex wants me to pay my bills whether I'm motivated or not. So I have to, I mean, for me, it's a job. So whether I'm in the mood to paint or not, I have to do it. The other thing is I make myself finish everything. One of the things that I found to be discouraging when I was painting before I started YouTube, I would start something, I'd get bored, I'd start something else, I got bored, I'd start something else, I got bored, and I'd have a bunch of projects I never finished. And that is the opposite of motivating. That is like, it doesn't help. Make yourself, even if you just kind of have to do it, just rush through it, get it done. If you're sick of something, just finish it and then move on to the next project. For me, seeing something finished, like looking around at the walls of my studio and seeing this finished artwork, that's motivating to me. It's like, wow, I did that. I want to do it again. Like, I don't know, it's just a really good feeling. So finish what you start for sure. And don't wait for motivation to hit you. Don't sit around watching TV thinking motivation is going to hit you. It won't. It really won't. I mean, I talked about this last week. I need to go to the gym. And we started going, was it last week we started? I don't know. We've been going regularly now. And I've been saying for months I needed to go to the gym. I want to. I know it's good for me. It's going to help my back. It's going to help everything. It's going to be better. And I have no motivation. So I can sit in front of the computer playing Warcraft, waiting for motivation to hit me. You know what? It won't. It never will. Ever. I have to get up and do it. And like motivation finds you working. I forget who said that. A very, very smart man. I know that. And I can't think of, but someone will fix it in the thing. But motivation will find you working, not watching TV or playing World of Warcraft or different things like that. So that I think is hugely, you know, keep in mind. Don't wait to be motivated to start working. Let's see. This, I'm just letting, that's probably good enough for my next layer. Kelly said, hi Lisa, I'm saving up money. Should I hold out for the 100 set of Derwent Lightfast or get a full set of luminance? Currently I have Polychromos 36 Lightfast set and maybe 7 luminance. Oh, that's a hard one. I don't know. They're both really, really good pencils. If I only had one, you see, you've already got the Polychromos though, and the Lightfast pencils are going to be closer to Polychromos than the luminance. I'd probably get more luminance at this point, so you've got a good set of wax base too. But the Lightfast blend, the Lightfast Derwent Lightfast pencils feel more like somewhere in between a true like Polychromos and luminance. They're kind of in the middle of the two. So, I mean, if you've already got the Polychromos, I would probably go the opposite extreme and get the wax-based pencils, but you're not going to be unhappy with either set, honestly. They're both great, great pencils. One of the things you may want to do is order just a couple since you've played with the luminance, so you know what those feel like. You may want to order just like 1 or 2 of the Derwent, like get the purple for sure. That purple Lightfast from the Derwent set is amazing. But get just maybe 1 or 2 of those pencils to play with to see which you prefer. That's a hard call though, because I really like both sets. Let's see. Kyle just responded to somebody that her personality is literally crap. What? Are you talking about me? I just get, see, this is why I don't jump into conversations. See, I would have thought people think I'm on speed for some reason, but you're probably not talking about me. Maybe you are. I don't know. You're not talking to me though. I can tell that. Cassie said, your videos are so awesome and really get me wanting to draw. I haven't watched a video of yours that doesn't inspire me. That's awesome. I love your ocean pictures you paint. Yay, you'll like this one then, because this will have ocean spilling out. I'm excited to start that part. This part, to me, the background, actually, while I work, while I sit here talking, I should get back to layering here. This part is the most boring to me. I always want to jump straight into the fun stuff. I want to draw the octopus. Let's see. Sarah said, it was Picasso who said inspiration exists, but it has to find you working. See, I could have sworn it was like an author. Maybe he quoted the author. Picasso, it's funny, I don't love his work isn't my taste, but he had a lot of really good quotes. Let's see. Morelli, my font is too small, I can't see, said, I just recently wanted to start finally painting, and that's how I found you. I hope to learn a lot from you. You're so talented. Thank you. And I'm glad you started painting. That's awesome. Whoops, I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing there. Okay, so I'm coming back through again with a bit more of the unbleached titanium white. It needs to be darker for sure than the background, but I want to lighten that so I don't have this really harsh, dark line up against the wallpaper. Not that a lot of the wallpaper is going to show because of stuff sitting on the shelf, but anywhere where it does, I want it to be a bit softer. And now I'll come back through, darkening that back up. Right now, the wood is super foggy. I'm not going to leave it like this. This is going to, like, it's kind of a grayish tone. I'll end up making the colors a nice rich wood tone, but just for now, I'll glaze that. This is just getting my base in. And I'm keeping the streaks side to side, so if I do have streaks, it just works for the wood grain. I don't even have to blend this out with a mop brush or anything. It's completely okay if I have streaks here. Kyle said I'm not supposed to pay attention to him. I'm going to remember that next time you're talking to me and I'm not paying attention. I should just screenshot that right there. But you said. Going to add a little bit more water. This is really dry, that paint, that old brown paint. I've had that happen more with, see how it's just like goo. I've had that happen more with the Liquitex, the browns, than most other colors. It seems like they dry up super fast. I used to buy, I don't know if they even still make it. They used to make the Liquitex where it came in the jars, or the Liquitex Basics. And I had to stop buying those because they kept drying out on me. So the tubes definitely were the better way for me to go. But yeah, that's a little bit annoying when it gets all gooey like that. Don't throw it out if it happens. Just thin it out with water. It's still usable, but still a bit annoying. Let's get some more streaks. Let that fade a little bit more evenly. And then this portion will have a little bit of a highlight just along the edge. Like I said, what size lighter brush do you use with titanium white touch-up texture? You're awesome. Thank you. I use usually a number 2 synthetic hog-haired liner brush. So I'll just kind of map out. This line doesn't have to be perfectly straight at all. This is making, as long as it's close. Like I said, this isn't a nice polished, like super, the woodworker who made this shelf wasn't very good at woodworking. But he did make an interesting shelf. I'll straighten that out a bit more later, but that kind of maps out where that's going to go. It would be like me woodworking. Everything would be crooked. Okay, let me dry this. And then I can remove the tape. That is stuck. Okay, I'm going to let that cool for a minute before I remove the tape. Kai said, would you do a sort of painting challenge using only one brush for an entire painting? Could be interesting. I actually used to do stuff like that a lot. I used to teach at one of those, it was called Let's Art Party. It was kind of like the Painting with a Twist, but it was owned by the wife of, if you know Dave and Buster's, Buster, his wife. This was like her project. So I used to teach at one of those places, and a lot of times I just used one, like tack lumber, sold filbert for the whole thing. I don't know that I want to do a video of it though. Amanda said, how is dry brushing done? Dry brushing is where you don't have a lot of paint or water or mixing medium or whatever you're using on the brush. So for example, actually, let's see if I can load one of these and show you. Let's use, it's going to be hard to make this obvious on this canvas just because this one is so smooth. I'll do it on the tape. We'll use this one. So like if I took just a teeny bit of paint, there's like nothing on that brush and just a little bit smudging like that. That would, there's no way you saw that on camera. This would be a form of dry brushing. Now, I'm painting on tape. The tape is super smooth, so it doesn't look like dry brushing, but there's like nothing there. So if you see the little bumps here with the brown, that would have been done because of dry brushing. If you're getting bumps done, that's how that happens. But it's where there's very little paint, very little water or any kind of moisture on the brush. So it's catching, what happens is the bristles, because it's not able to get into the nooks and crannies of the tooth of the canvas. So it catches the top of the canvas and whatever color is underneath or the white of the canvas shows through. Let's see. Down Under Farm Studio said maybe it could be made for a very old wood barn beam or something. Very aged wood. I have a lot of furniture like that. Although I'm pretty sure mine are just like people's old fences. Half my furniture are reclaimed wood. I love that look. TK said, wasn't it so sad seeing the Notre Dame, I can't say things, and all this art destroyed burning? It was kind of heartbreaking to me. Yeah, it was definitely sad. I'm just glad nobody was hurt, and I mean, they'll rebuild it. That makes me happy. You know, like, that it's not just going to be gone, hopefully. But yeah, the art and stuff being damaged, definitely. But I was very, very sad. Very happy no people were killed in it. That would really suck. Okay, this should be good. Yeah, see here? Well, you may not be able to see, but it is leaking a little bit underneath. That's actually okay because I'm going to put such a heavy, I'll put a shadow under there once I get this in, so that should be fine. If the other thing I could do though, if it was bad, just to show you guys, if that had leaked very much, none of these brushes are what I want. Here we go. I can take a flat brush, little bit of water, and I can go back and forth over the area that leaked and it'll erase it. As long as I do it before it dries all the way, because this part isn't dry all the way since it was under tape. But I can clean those edges up if I had to. Now here, doesn't really matter. I'm going to be putting a shadow there so you won't see it. But that is one way you can fix it if your upper line did slide under a little bit. Or you're under the tape. Now that one I am going to fix. It did slide here. So I had too much water when I was doing that first layer. I was afraid that was going to happen. So I'm just, actually let's turn this upside down. It's easier for me to work from this angle. But what I'm going to do then, I can clean that up. And most of this is going to get covered by the frame and such, but still, I can take this brush and just work back and forth. And it erases or that where it slipped under, where the paint came under the tape. This side was good. And that happened because, like I said before, I needed to dry brush or keep a very dry brush because if I had too much water in that paint, it was going to slide under since I didn't use a mixing medium first or a clear medium of some sort. And it did. It's okay though. It'll all be hidden with what's going to end up happening here. Okay, I'm actually going to draw this out first with a line, or not with a liner brush, with my charcoal pencil so that I can have an idea of where it starts and stops at least. Let's pull you back up for just a second. Well, I'm not looking for a perfectly straight line. I still want it to be even going across. Or even-ish. I may go a little higher. I'm trying to think of what angle I want this to be. I think I do want it to be a little bit higher. That'll work. Let's see. Sarah said, here's a quote about motivation. People say motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily. It's a pretty good quote. Angela said, whenever I've used tape in acrylic work, the tape takes some sort of paint with it. Is it better to remove the tape before it's totally dry? No, but it shouldn't take anything with it. That would be an issue either with the primer on your canvas or the type of paint you're using, or it's not dry all the way. It really shouldn't be pulling anything up. Or like if this background wasn't 100% dry and I put tape on it, it's going to pull it up. So you want to make sure it's completely dry before you do that. But that shouldn't happen. Gail said, I can absolutely tell you've upgraded your setup. It's never looked so sharp and clear. Thanks. Oh, that's good to hear because I'm using the old webcam, but I think this computer can handle it better. So I'm wondering if it's uploading at a better... I don't know. I've got to figure out what happened to the new what's going on with the new webcam. That was frustrating for sure. But I'm glad that this looks better. The computer is not disconnecting constantly, so that's a huge improvement. Now this line here, like I said before, it doesn't have to be perfect. I just want it to be semi-close. And that should be, let's see. Looks like it's pretty close. And we'll put a little knot in the wood here. Maybe a little one over here somewhere. If I decide once I paint everything else in, if the knots don't look right, I can just, they're easy to hide or cover up. So it's no big deal if I decide they don't look quite how I want them to. Let's see. Amanda said, thank you so much for the explanation and example. I'm glad I could help. I need to do a better video on that. And I know every time I do anything talking against dry brushing, though, I get so much, like, people just get so angry. It's people who don't want to learn how not to dry brush. They want to keep doing the easy way. So if you're going to leave a nasty comment, if you're watching this after the fact, I know you just don't want to learn to do it this way. This is why I get nasty comments. I should stop with my little attitude. But anyway, I need to do another video where you can really see on a canvas, because that's not a great example. Like I need to do a better one for you guys. Let's see. The Down on the Farm Studio said, have you ever turned your art upside down and forgotten about it, or left it for a while and then returned and mispainted the wrong direction? I cannot say I've ever done that. Flower Farm Artist said, what are your favorite colored pencils? That's hard. I'm a huge fan of the Derwent Lightfast because it's kind of somewhere in between Luminance and Polychromos. I love Polychromos for the like. I wouldn't want to give up any of my pencils though. I love Polychromos for the detail. I love Luminance for the fine blending on portraits. Like I definitely don't have. I would say those three are my favorites: Derwent Lightfast, Polychromos, and the Caran d'Ache Luminance. Oh, and the Derwent drawing pencils. I can't be without my Derwent drawing Chinese white. Lucas said, what is the difference between a script brush and a liner brush? I don't know if there's a technical difference. I think people interchange those terms. I know I do. There could be a difference, but I've seen some brushes that I call a liner brush listed as a script brush, and the other way. I don't know. How's that? I think it means the same thing, but that one I actually could be wrong on. What oil paints would you recommend to me for a beginner? I really like, if you don't want to spend a lot, the Winsor & Newton makes their, not the artist one, the Watercolor. Fairly inexpensive. They're not like my favorite. I still use them sometimes, but the Winsor & Newton Watercolor you can get a package of them, like 40% off at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. I have a link to all those if you go to my website for all of the supplies that I use, because you're also going to need a mixing medium, in which case I like liquid, but all of those are over on my website. Not the supplies, but the list of supplies. Like, I don't actually sell supplies. Okay, back to work. Pay attention. What am I doing? Not you guys pay attention. Me pay attention. Sounded a bit demanding, huh? Probably need to put some more paint. I wonder if I bought any new brown paint out of that Michael's, because I don't feel like trying to mix that for thin. Did I get a brown? I did not get a brown. And I'm pretty sure I got there when I saw that I was there for I was killing time. My husband was in Barnes & Noble, and I decided to go wander at Michael's, which was right next door. So I was killing time in there when I found those paints and couldn't remember. I knew there were a lot of paints I needed to replace. Okay, this is really annoying. Couldn't remember what it was while I was there. So I bought a bunch that I already have and not the brown that I needed. Yeah, that one I'm pretty sure I'm not going to fight with. That's worse than normal for being gooey or kind of jelly. Like, not a fan of that right now. I'll mix a little bit of black with that. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to mix my own brown with the reddish color that's good. If you mix red or like the reddish brown, raw sienna, if I mix that, actually, I think that one's red oxide. I don't think that's actually red sienna. Yeah, that one's red oxide. But if I mix that with my black, I'm going to get a nice chocolate brown that's not fighting me for the finer details I'm going to do right now. I don't feel like fighting with that. So let's go ahead and mix some of this together. Yeah, now I have the same color. We're close enough. Okay. And I need to start getting a reddish tone into these anyway. So this works. Where's my light source coming from? Probably there. I don't know. I may switch directions on that later. And so I'm using a flat brush, and I'm just going side to side to start creating that wood grain look. Meta says, I appreciate that, though. I have no negative on this. Well, good. Wait till you see the comments. Every time I've done that where I've talked about, like, my top 10... Well, this video won't get as many views as, like, the top 10 acrylic painting tips or top 10 mistakes, or I don't know what it was I did. I talked about dry brushing, and that was one that I had quite a few people who were getting angry at me and being nasty. Like, nasty enough, I deleted the comments, like, go away. I don't actually care what you have to say. But there were people who were just so, like... They think that dry brushing is the end all, and it's like, well, congrats on being a beginner forever. I mean, if you're doing it just as a hobby and you don't care if you progress, you just want to have fun, paint however you want. And heck, even if you like what dry brushing looks like, if that's what you want your work to look like, don't listen to me, paint how you like. But yeah, it was always funny to be the like how defensive people got over my dislike of dry brushing. I didn't realize people were that attached to it that they would be mad at me for it. Flower Farm said, I'm having trouble blending on Canson black paper using OMS and Derwent Lightfast pencils. All the pigment just rubs off instead of blends. Don't use so much OMS. Oh, no, what's probably happening, because you're on the black paper, when it dries, it's probably lightening up, right? It should be lightening up a lot, but it takes a while to dry. One of the problems, if you're having it happen, what I had happen, when you use the OMS, it makes it look really dark, and you're like, wow, this is good, my contrast is great, and it dries, and it looks super pale and light. It's not, if that's what you're having happen, it's not removing it, it's just that when it's wet, the dark paper in the background looks darker. It makes it darker until it dries back to its normal color, and it makes all your colors look darker and more like, kind of more vibrant. So that may be what's happening to you there. And if that's not, then just use less OMS, just a little bit, and see if that helps. Cassie said, I had some Prismacolor pencils I bought before I watched your videos. And what I get you say about the sharpening, I started out with a new pencil and now it's small, not cool. Yeah, it's funny too, because people will always say, well, no, you're using the wrong sharpener. The sharpener matters. And if you have an electric sharpener, that will help. But some of those pencils are definitely defective and just, you burn through them so flippin' quickly. I mean, I would go through a pencil, brand new pencil, and I know how to sharpen a pencil. I've been doing this for, painting with color pencils for well over 20 years. I know how to sharpen the pencil, but they've gotten so defective over the years that sometimes it could be that you just need a sharper pencil or the way you're holding it. Absolutely. But I found that with Prisma, you just would sometimes get one that was so defective, no matter what you did, it was just going to continuously break all the way down. Or if it was already split down, that was a problem. I'm over here getting a bit of dry brushing going on. Use more water. Take your own advice. My head is probably covering the camera. I should sink down. And I'll go back over this with lights. I'm just starting to build up the texture that I'm doing here. Yeah, the breaking Prismas and burning through them so fast is what pushed me over the edge. The last Prismacolor paste I did, and you can, don't get me wrong, you can do beautiful paintings with Prismacolor if you're willing to fight with them. But the very last one that I had done was so frustrating to me. Just the constant breakage. And I'm like, well, I got to where I didn't even want to paint with colored pencil anymore. I was using acrylics or oils for everything because they do what I ask them to do. I'm not fighting with my supplies. And so, that's where I started researching, like, okay, there's gotta be something better. And luckily there was. It's just that in the US, I mean, you're taught through school and everywhere else. Like I was in high school at the time, but the teachers will always tell you, yeah, Prismacolor is the best. But now that we can get stuff on the internet, we can find alternatives. So I'd like for Prismacolor just to step up and fix their quality control issues, because I would love to use some of those. Now, Prismacolor, the other thing is that a large portion of them are not light fast. So something to keep in mind too with them. Let's see. Diane said, what size needle do you typically use on your airbrush for this work? Thank you. This one's a number 3. If I was doing something huge, like the big canvas I did for Aquashella. Oh, my battery's running low. Hold on. My computer's not plugged in. That's a problem. I forgot I was changing everything earlier. Problem solved. But, with that big, huge Aquashella painting I did, the 36 by 48 inch one, that one I probably should have switched to a number 5 needle, but I was too lazy to switch it out. So, wow, my screen just got super bright. Huh. Funny what a battery or what a plug can do, huh? But normally a number 3, the only time I'll go to a number 2 is if I'm doing teeny, tiny, fine detail. Let's see. Elaine said, thanks for the info on dry brushing. It's popular with wood crafts and ceramics, so I may have just used it on paintings too. Yeah, and wood crafts and ceramics I think is a bit different. Now, I don't know a ton about any of those, but with those, I'd be more not even forgiving. I just think it would look better with a lot of those. So, it's just different when it's an acrylic painting on canvas. Like toll painting, I know that uses a lot of dry brushing techniques. The Donna Dewberry methods, the one-stroke painting, she uses a combination. If she's, the ones I've seen, it's been years, but the ones that, the ladies that used to teach at the Michaels I was teaching out of, I'd seen some of their classes, and they would do some dry brushing, like they would do a snowman. Sometimes it was a normal one stroke, so that's wet into wet, and sometimes they would do these dabbing, like, yeah, I saw a mixture on that. Let's see. Angela said, I'm with you on the dry brushing. It's a cool technique to raise layers in your sculpture or whatever, or whenever using a chalk paint on the dresser. You really can tell when someone can control the paint. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, dry brushing, you're right. Like doing dry brushing with like chalk paint. Oh yeah, there's a time. Let's see. Lucas said, what's the difference between wax-based and oil-based pencils? Can they be used together? Yes, they can absolutely be used together. The wax-based have a tendency to be, no, all pencils have wax and oil and clay. I mean, all of the colored pencils have a mixture of both. It's just kind of a difference of how much of each that they have. So with the wax-based, they're going to tend to blend a little bit more smoothly. So if I'm doing a portrait, I usually will use my wax-based pencil, like the Caran d'Ache. They're generally going to be a bit more opaque. The oil-based are going to tend to have a harder lead and get a finer point and smaller detail. So tiny, tiny details, I'll usually go with those. When I want the smoother blending, then I switch over to my wax-based. But sometimes it's just an issue of, I like the color with one of these better than the other. And so that may be why I choose one over the other. But yeah, they work really well together. It doesn't matter which order you go. You can do oil first, wax first. None of that really matters. They work beautifully together. Wow, my eyes are not adjusting when I plug the computer back in. I got super bright. Now I'm blind. I probably need to adjust those settings too. Christ said, what paper would you recommend for watercolor and colored pencils? Using colored pencil over the watercolor on paper I have just ruins it. My favorite, if I'm going to use any water medium, is Arches. Arches Hot Press would be my favorite for that combination. I use the Fabriano Artistico Extra White Hot Press 140-pound watercolor paper, and I used to love it for watercolor or, well, Inktense is what I was using on it at the time. But the way they make it now, it warps really bad, so it's not my favorite. I mean, it's usable, but it's not my favorite anymore. Arches is definitely my favorite, but any of your hot press watercolor papers should be able to handle it. You want to look for something that's a heavier weight. If it's ripping and it's not able to handle the water medium, the paper's probably just too thin, too light. Susan said, Susan is reminding Pete, and I will remind you guys as well. If you need to do the Lachri fine art, if it doesn't highlight my name in orange, I'm not going to see your question. It's not that I'm ignoring you or trying to be a jerk. I just won't see it. If you guys haven't already, make sure to check out our moderators' channels. Joseph and Nick both have art channels here, and it's linked in the video description. You can also harass them and ask them to make some more videos. And Kyle needs to make more videos on his fish tanks. But those are all linked in the description. Now, it doesn't matter if all of these colors are exactly the same as my previous layers. They're close. I'm using the same paint. That's a common question I get. How do you make sure you mix, like if you mix the batch of paint and you ran out, how do you get the same color again? I don't care if I get the same color again, as long as my values are right and I'm close. Honestly, that's good enough. The only time it would matter is, let's say I messed something up on the background and I needed to get that exact color to hide the mistake. All of the paint is going to be a bit too translucent. You're never really going to cover it completely. I throw bubbles to hide it. If I'm doing a marine painting and I've got like a splash of paint that's not there, I'll throw a bubble or a fish or something like that is how I fix that. But it's not, I need to move this over. It's not that, like, it does not have to be the exact same. I spent a lot of time when I was younger. I guess it was good because I learned how to color match doing that. I just had to take some water because I had that paint way too thick. So I'm smudging that out with a clean brush and water. But I thought that everything, like I had to match the exact color because I didn't understand it was my values that mattered, not the color. And I wasted a lot of time fussing over things that were not important and made no difference. What would have made a difference is making sure my values were good. But because the paint is a bit translucent, unless you're using super opaque paints, which, you know, you're titanium white and black, but even that you can usually still see a little bit underneath. It's, you're going to see what's below it anyway, so it's not my favorite way to hide a mistake, even then. But if I know I'm doing something where I need that exact color, I will mix an extra batch of it. Like there was, if you guys remember, it's an old one, but a tiger I did, it's against like a kind of a grayish blue, powder blue background with the damask print. I think he had a damask print. And then the tiger. And I knew I needed to take some of that background color to lay on top of the tiger later on. And I knew I wanted that exact color. So in that case, I went ahead and mixed a huge extra batch that I kept in a little side container, because then it did matter. But very rarely have I had a situation where I really needed it to be exact. So like here, these colors, this is not the same as over there, but you can't tell. It's close enough. Especially once everything is laid on top, you really won't be able to tell. Let's see. That just scrolled too far. Kelly said, are you going to watch the Lyrid's meteor shower tonight? The peak was last night, 20 minutes. Probably not. It's storming. I doubt there's anything beyond the clouds I can see tonight. One of the artists said, I'm new to your channel and I love your videos. What is your favorite video that you've made? Oh, I don't know. Weird. No one's asked me that. Of all the questions that, like, it's usually the same questions, and no one's asked me that. What is the favorite video? I mean, I can think probably of some of my favorite paintings, but my favorite video? I'm trying to think of, like, was there a video I was really proud of, or... That's a good question, and I don't even know. Huh. I really liked the lion one that I did recently with the coral, because I did more of the pop-ups, and I've been working more. Oh, the tiger one I think was one of the first ones that I started doing the pop-ups. I'm playing around with my video editing more with different, like, add-on type things, which is why my computer is not currently allowing me to edit videos right now. It's decided it had enough of those. They're using too many of my resources, it seems. But, so the new computer has been ordered, but it won't be here for a few weeks. Anyway, I think it was the tiger one may have been one of the first ones. It was either the tiger, I know the lion was one. Maybe it was the lion. I don't know. One of them when I've started using more I switched to using Adobe Premiere Pro, which my computer doesn't like. But that one, I think it was one of those, the first ones when I really started playing with those is probably, I was really proud of those little pop-ups and little notes here and there. So right now, this I did all with one color, super flat, doesn't look good. Don't leave it here. When you're building up wood grain, I find, and now this is the same thing with most, like if I'm painting trees or bushes or grass, at least three different layers once you get your base layer. So here, I've got one layer with this darker brown. Now I'm going to come back through and add in lights, and then I'll come back through and add in dark. So I have at least three different colors for all of these lines. And then when that's dry, I'll glaze a color over it to kind of pull everything together. Cassie said, are Crayola pencils good with color after a long time? Do you know? And why does name brand colored pencils cost so much? No, Crayola are not light fast at all. Like all of the, like kind of the lower end pencils, they are going to fade very quickly, very quickly. So nope, they are not good with that. And that's really one of the main things that makes a difference between the pencils that are very expensive. The pigments that they use are expensive to use. Plus they have to do testing to test, like if it's a company who cares about light fast, they have to test. That's not cheap. All of the testing that has to do. And I mean, they actually have like a science team behind that works with these, this is probably going to be way too bright, that works with these art manufacturers. All of that is very, very expensive to do correctly. And the pigments are expensive that are not light fast. So that is why those are going to cost you a lot more. You're paying for the quality that you're getting. Gail said, what colors have I seen you mix to make teal? Phthalo blue and phthalo green, and then titanium white if you want it to be lighter. But phthalo blue, phthalo green are the two. Silu said, my favorite video of yours was the octopus with the glass fishbowl. Oh, I liked him. Yeah, see, my favorite paintings would probably have a different answer than my favorite videos. Because I'm thinking more like the editing and how long I spent on editing. Yeah, I like him. My husband claimed that painting. That's above his desk. That one, my tiger that's in the water with the fireflies around him, he's one of my favorites. He was going to go on my wall, but I ended up putting my lion with the coral around him. He ended up taking that space. But those two are, that and the flamingo, one of my flamingos with the bees in acrylic. So it's a round canvas. Those are probably my favorite paintings. Amanda said, I love how you're doing the wood. Teach me how to do it. I suck at it. Okay, so it's just a layering process. This is actually not too hard, but you do want a lot of layers. And so see how I'm keeping everything going horizontal? I'm going to probably put some more lots over here. See these lines? They're short and horizontal. Those are terrible. These are not a good example. That looks bad. These ones are longer, and the reason that happened, these came out better because I'm sitting in front of it. Over here, I'm reaching here, and I can't get a good brush stroke. But I'll have to go and redo that off camera. But I want these long horizontal lines, and I'm using a flat brush. I find this to be easier than a liner brush. If you try to do the lines with a liner brush, they come out kind of weird. I get a more natural feel if I use this one as a Simply Simmons number 8 flat brush, and I hold it to the side. You don't want to hold it like this, you'll get a thick line, but if I hold it to the side and don't push very hard, I get this thin line, and I can kind of make this sketchy motion with the brush, which gives me that look of almost splintered wood. But it's a layering process, and I'm going to layer on top of layer. Like this light color is too light, but I need it to be this light because I know I'm going to glaze brown to tone it down later. It's not going to stay this light. Actually, maybe it will. Well, I think that one is going to have to go darker. We'll see. Thanks, Xerxes. Did I scroll too far? No. Cal said, someone asked what the difference is between surrealism and fantasy. I think that maybe surrealism is dreamed up, but done in a realistic way. I'm not sure what the definition of the difference between the two is. I'm really not sure on that. With me, surrealism is something happening that doesn't, like things that are going together that don't go together. In this case, the picture that is going to be hanging on the wall turned real, and the real thing, like the things that would be painted in that picture came to life and are spilling out onto the shelf and reaching out. So it's that surreal, like weird, doesn't exist. Whereas fantasy, I think more like elves, dragons, I guess vampire would be considered fantasy. It's more of like a subject matter, I guess. You could have, I guess, a surreal fantasy one could be the same, but for me, they're items that are realistic. So wood shelf realistic, that's real. My painting would be, a painting of a painting, that would be real, except mine's coming to life in like spilling out. So I don't know how to put them into words. I've not even had to think of it. I've never thought or considered how I would fit those into words before. But good question. I need to look up the definition on that. But that's, at least in my brain, how I separate the two. Like fantasy side, dragons, werewolves, like fantasy creatures, whereas surrealism to me are things that are real, but in a way that shouldn't go together or that meld together in a weird way. Like there's an artist I love, I follow on, I can't remember his name. I follow him on Instagram, and he's got an octopus that he painted who's on a roof. He's wearing a top hat, and I love octopus wearing top hat. I think is the best thing ever for some reason. And he's holding different items. That wouldn't be fantasy to me. That's more surreal because, the octopus is a thing that exists. I don't know. That's how my brain wraps around it, and it's probably wrong. So, go ahead and correct me. Ursi said, good flat brush for art shelves. Yes. These, for doing this, painting these, the flat brush is my absolute favorite way to do it. Cam said, what kind of camera and lens do you use for taking picture of your art for prints? Do you have a video on it? I don't. I probably have an old one talking about it, but I don't have one with the camera that I use now. It's a Canon 6D, and the lens, what lens am I using? It's the one that's the more expensive one. I can't remember the name of it. What one is that? I don't know. It's a good lens. How's that? It's a wide. The lens that I'm using is a wide full frame. So it handles low light better. And when I take photos of art, I tend to need to be in slightly lower light to avoid some of the glare, just the way I take it. And so the full frame camera was a really good choice for that for me. I really need to make a video on that. That's a really good question. Joseph said, a painting of an ocean that is breaking the fourth wall. Yes, exactly. Kyle said, that's a good answer. I knew we kept you around for something. Leon said, that's pretty accurate. Realism in a place which does not belong. Well, I'm glad it made sense to you guys. Blue Tea Art said, do you have Discord? If not, it would be my pleasure to make you one. You know what? I need to look into that. I don't know a whole lot about Discord, but I hear people talking about it, and I'm pretty sure that something I use, like, was it Patreon has one that like embedded or used to where I can use it for patrons. I need to look into that. If that's something that you guys want, I certainly can consider doing that. Am I wrong? How does Discord work? Is it where you're able to just chat, like have it open and you can chat while you're doing other things? That's how in my brain it happens. I don't know what it's for. I've never used it. Let me know. Or I think I've been in Discord things, but it was for a video game or something, like they were chatting while raiding, or so I forget. I need to look into that. So now, because these lines, like I told you before, they're short and not what I want, like they're short little sketchy lines that I don't want, I can come back through with this color and start elongating those, making that now start, like I can still fit, I don't even have to repaint the brown. I can just go over it with this color. The wood shelves are really easy to do. Just do a lot of layers. Don't try to get it done in one layer with one shade of brown. If you do a bunch, it's mindless. I could probably do this with my feet. But there's some weird people out there that have fetishes with feet, so my feet aren't going to be in videos. I've had requests for that, which kind of creeped me out. But I mean, the point is, it's very, very simple. You just have to do a lot of layers. It's just tedious. And I think my head's in the camera again. Let's see. Whoops. Pete said, have you tried the Dick Blick colored pencils? I have not, and I need to look into that because I'm curious what their Lightfast ratings and all of that is. I need to look into it for sure. Senia said, I'm sorry, I just joined. What painting are you working on? The title of the video intrigued me, but looking at it, I can't follow what it is. So actually, I'm going to clean up my brush because I'm pretty much done for the night. Even though we started late, my dogs don't understand that and want to go out. But this one is... It's a custom piece done for Coral. You've seen me do the other paintings for Coralfish 12G George here on YouTube. He wanted a painting for his aunt and his mom, so I'm doing two. One is going to go in his mom's house or match their decor, and one is going to go in the aunt's house. So it's a shelf. This one is going to be for his mom, so his brother plays clarinet, so it's going to have a clarinet on the shelf, and then something with the Aquashella logo, so like something that's important to both of her kids. And then it's going to have a frame that on the shelf sitting up here, and spilling out of the frame is going to be the ocean. So like an octopus will be reaching through, some fish will be swimming out, and that's what this one is going to be based on. My challenge is going to be mixing those colors. So I guess the ocean will just have to be really light blue. Like try to figure out how to make, or it could be maybe night. I've got to figure out a way, and I'll probably have to play with Photoshop to make those colors work with these colors that go with her house. So this one's going to be more of a challenge than the one for the aunt. I think had more blue tones in hers, assuming those weren't photos from the same house. So that is what this is going to be. Tasha said, would you consider doing an experiment by painting in the negative? I mean, basically, whenever I've worked in colored pencil on black paper, that's almost what you're doing. It's kind of that. I actually would like to do something with that, though, because I love the look of chalk or charcoal. I don't know why. Or like a blackboard, like that we had when we were kids. Well, I had when I was a kid. I like that style. And so a white colored pencil on black can look like that, especially if you get that dry brush, like that rough, not really blended look. So that I'll probably do a video on because I want to do something like that for myself. Kristen said, is that, actually I need to turn this off because I'm not recording that now. Kristen said, is that a hearing aid I spotted in your ear? No, it is not. And also, do you have a favorite mix-in for oil paints to make them dry faster? Liquid for the oil paints? I don't think there's anything weird in my ears right now. I'm not sure what you're seeing. Earrings, lots of earrings. But yeah, liquid is what I use for, and you can use that with any of your oil-based, like, I've used them with Grumbacher. I've used it with Winsor & Newton. I've got some with the, who is it? Williams? The Williams something oils. The liquid works with all of them. Let's see. Senia said, that sounds wonderful. Are you using any reference images? Not yet. Right now, I don't have anything. I will once I get into the fish and the details there. And then the frame is actually it's a mirror that I bought for this, well, not for this painting, but for a past painting that has this very aged, it's really, really pretty that I'll be using for my reference here. Ursi said, thanks for the wonderful night. Love your artful self. Thank you. Okay. Thank you guys so much for joining. Make sure to check out our moderators' channels. Tell them thank you. Harass them and tell them to make more videos. For some reason, they think having jobs or something is a reason not to get stuff done. No excuses. Just don't sleep. Next week, I don't know what I'm doing next week. I have no idea. It'll be something. I'll talk to you next week, and hopefully I'll have fixed the better webcam and found out what was going on with that. Or exchange it. It could go either way. Bye.